The Nuggets get right as Joker returns. Big fella's back. They get the win over the Bucks. Well, kind of the Bucks, the zombie Bucks, the Zucks, I call them. Talk about that. Plus whatever else is rattling around our heads for the playoff chase here on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday to you. Welcome to Locked On Nuggets. Hope you guys are doing well. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day, being an everydayer, hanging out with us Monday through Friday, bonus episodes, shorts, all sorts of stuff, great stuff, which you can check out youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets and join the 9,300, 9,400, almost 9,400 folks that we have with us on the channel. We are trying to get to 10,000 before the end of the season, and we're doing awesome. And then we hit like a little bit, like we've stalled, and we've been stuck on the same number for a while. So I need you to help me out. I need you, people.
Matt, we need to go viral for Luka Doncic again. That's the only way.
Go to youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets and hit the like and subscribe button. On today's show, we'll talk about the win over the Bucks. Nikola Jokic returns. Michael Porter Jr. makes some shots finally. Had some interesting comments post-game from him. Plus, we'll take a look at the playoff race. Whatever else comes up. Here on No Jinx on Wednesday, because we would never, ever, ever jinx anyone. That's not what we would do. Not a single time. I'm Matt Moore. I'm joined by Ryan Blackburn, Mile High Sports, and the Pickaxe and Roll podcast. Make sure to check that out as well. You get Ryan's kind of like deeper, longer, more in-depth thoughts over there. It's like he gets to be a little bit more like introspective, and you should go appreciate that because he has to otherwise deal with my nonsense.
I try to take my time over there. That's the like we have our more reactionary content here right now, and I try to take my time a little. It gives me a little bit of time to let the stats process and sleep on it a little bit. Like,
yeah,
it's there's something.
Yeah, I mean, the playoffs will be good because you kind of get to do that. I always think that you do better talking the day after a game. I just think it's better to always like sleep on it, think about where you get to, and then react. There's just been so many times when I've reacted in the moment. And some of them I don't regret and some of them I do. So it's always better to get the day after, but the people demand the content. And you deserve to know about this win by the Denver Nuggets over the Milwaukee Bucks as they get the win versus Milwaukee to split the season series 127-117. Ryan and I disagree on this. I think that if Giannis Antetokounmpo plays, the Bucks win this game. He thinks that if Giannis plays, the Nuggets still win this game because of the history of the back and forth between the two teams.
Yeah, it's something that I've noticed between these two. The Denver is never very ready for Giannis initially in these matchups, and then they find a way. If Aaron was in foul trouble again the entire time, then yeah, they probably lose. There's no doubt about it. But I think Aaron got caught a little bit, matched up in some awkward situations, and he was clearly out of rhythm tonight, and that sucked. But it was still great to have Nikola Jokic back, Matt. It's funny. We talk a lot. We criticize a lot. We try to evaluate as often as we can and as positive and negative and like objective of a way that we possibly can about Nikola Jokic. And yet just watching him be back in the building and playing basketball and dominating in the unique way that he does, it was very enjoyable.
Yep, big fella just comes back and goes right back to work as he plays 38 minutes, 39 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, sets the record for most triple-doubles in a season by Nugget, which he broke his own record of doing so. Plus 14 on the night, 3 of 6 from 3, 4 of 7 from the line, and 16 of 25 from the field overall. 3 turnovers.
Think about that for a second. Like 16 of 25 against Brook Lopez. And I know that Giannis isn't behind them to kind of affect some of the shots tangentially, but like Brook Lopez is a really good defender. He's also 7'2". He's huge. And he had some great defensive possessions against Jokic tonight. And it didn't matter. Like he was so good. And the pass that he had, the bing bop pass to Murray gets him on the roll, and then he flips the ball over his shoulder two-handed to a cutting Aaron Gordon for a dunk. It was so smooth. It was so awesome. And there's exactly maybe two people in the world that can make that pass in that way. One of them is Jokic, and actually one of them is Alperen Şengün. That's one thing that he does.
I'm looking at the history of the battles between these two teams. It does not support your theory that they would
In terms of
losing the first one and then winning the second one. It's pretty split.
what does it support?
It's pretty random. So like January 2024, they win at home, they lose the one on the road. The 2023, and so from 2022 to 2023, they did follow your pattern. But other than that, it's all like
okay. Well, this is the world of Ryan, where Ryan thinks that he knows the stats really well and has decided that is objective fact at this point. So that's what happens.
One of the things that I love doing is I will get a stat in my head and parrot it 17 times, and then it'll change. And I just keep parroting it. I just keep talking about it like it's actually a real thing. I mean, look, Joker, I thought Brook is a great defender, and Joker absolutely just took it to him. They had it, they forced a lot of switches and got him on small stuff like late in the game. Poor AJ Green was on him. Joker had tonight. He catches the ball at the free throw line and he posts and he starts to turn. He doesn't even turn. It's not like he turns and then pauses and then flips. As he's turning, he two-arm underhand flips it over his shoulder to Aaron Gordon. And it's just not a play that you're just going to see again in the NBA for a long time. Like, it's just not. Like, there's a lot of amazing plays that happen every single night in the league. It's one of the things that, for all of the ways that it can wear me down, like, you watch these plays and you're just like, God, these guys are so good at basketball. Yeah. And, like, that play is just singularly Jokic. Like, nobody else does that. Nobody else makes that play.
Except Alperen Şengün. That's the only one I could think of.
I was listening to you. That was what you were referring to on Şengün. When did Şengün make that play?
Wait, say it again. Sorry.
When did Şengün make that play? Tell me about this.
It's just something that he does. It's not necessarily the shuffle, like the shove, like two-handed. It's just the creativity that he has on the short roll in terms of being able to take advantage of being in a 4-on-3 situation and finding that short roller in the short corner on a consistent basis. And he does it in very creative ways. Maybe not that exact one, but he does it in like, he's learned a lot from Jokic in terms of watching how he has delivered that pass in as awesome of a way as he possibly can.
I'll throw Demonis on there. I think Demonis can make that play. Demonis is pretty good. Demonis is like 7 times better than Şengün, and Şengün needs to try and be Demonis and not Jokic. We're all over the place because it's late because Joker took forever. So did you come away encouraged by this game?
No. I thought that this was the same old. Jokic played great. He played 38 minutes. Murray was inconsistent this one. Porter shot well. Like, that was good to see. He got wide open shots for the most part and made them pay this time. And it's good to see him kind of get back out there and get on that horse. It was nice to see Christian Braun play the way that he did. He had 19, 10, and 6 with 2 steals. He was shooting the passing lanes a little bit more in this game. And I noticed that. That's something that I think of when I think of KCP, as somebody who reads and understands when an offense is getting a little bit lazy and then takes advantage of it. Christian got one of those. And then Peyton Watson did step up in a way. Like 34 minutes, 12, 7, 2 with 3 blocks off the bench in 34 minutes and was a team-leading plus 15. So some encouraging things. Not going to sit here and say that there weren't any, but it still was 117 points given up.
The blocks were very loud for Peyton, and I liked him closing in the dunker spot in 2-man game. He got that wide open dunk in the AG spot. Like, it was just really good to see Peyton getting reps in that kind of situation. So I thought that was really good. Coming up, we'll talk about the win. We'll talk about the dynamics of it and about Michael Porter Jr., who went 6 of 8 from 3-point tonight. But here's a bigger question. Should he have played? We'll talk about that next here on Locked On Nuggets. There's nothing like watching basketball live, the energy of the crowd, the sound of sneakers on the hardwood, and maybe even a celebrity sign courtside. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time makes getting tickets even easier. Game Time's new feature, Game Time Picks, filters out the fluff and shows you only the best deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. I caught up with a high school buddy that was in town this week for a game. He wanted to come in. He's going up to Steamboat and he wanted to catch a Nuggets game. And he was asking me about how do you get, like, what should I do to get tickets? And I told him, I was like, you should check out Game Time. I was like, wait till the right before tip and then you'll be able to get a good deal. And guess what? He got great seats at a really good price. He was very happy with the recommendation for Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
It's game time, baby.
We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Just gonna make a note in our ad read. Do not say Game Time, baby. Got it. Got that done. Welcome back to Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys being with us. Matt Moore and Ryan Blackburn. No Jakes. Michael Porter Jr. goes 23 points, 7 of 9 shooting, 6 of 8 from 3. He was red hot to start this game. His first 3 threes. It is inevitable that when we start to make a stink about a player going through a slump, that they're going to break out of it. Like, it is just inevitable. Because the thing with Porter in particular is, like, he's gone through this before, and I'm always like, not going to say anything. He's going to be fine. Not going to say anything. He's going to be fine. And the minute that you're like, I don't know, he shot pretty far. And okay, he just hit Porter.
Now you've done it.
And now you did it. 10 rebounds for Porter tonight, 4 assists, 3 steals, plus 11. Really good night for MPJ. He just played really well tonight. Looked a little bit looser, not completely. So after the game, Porter was listed as questionable with a back strain. And after the game, he said, "Did they list it as a back?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, it's a hamstring. I've had hamstring tightness since before All-Star." And he did, in fact, miss time before All-Star with a hamstring. Now, the hamstring is connected to the hip bone, and the hip bone's connected to the backbone, and the nervous system goes through the all bones. So there's like a whole relationship that winds up occurring here, where it does, like, there's a lot of times when a player will be experiencing hip problems and it's actually a back. As you get older, you will notice things like, God, my knee hurts. And then you go to the doctor. And no, this is not me, this is my folks, but you go to the doctor and they're like, oh, that's your hip. And you're like, no, it's my knee. And they're like, funny story. No, it's your hip, because it's all related into how you move. So I don't know if it's a knee. I don't know if it's back. I don't know if it's hip. I don't know what it is. But I do know that Michael Porter Jr. said that his balance has been off. He can feel on his shot his balance being off, which I thought was a really interesting comment.
By the way, if there's anybody in the world, like, there's 2 people in the world that I could trust saying that their balance is off on their jumper, it is Steph Curry and it's Michael Porter.
Yeah. Ray Allen was my favorite. Ray Allen could tell you, well, I knew it was off because my left foot hit the ground before my right. And you're like, you're psycho. Ray Allen used to watch videos of him shooting, like, in practice. Like, he used to shoot and then watch the video of him shooting to correct his body form to make sure that he was in the, like, it.
Well, that as former high school athlete, Ryan, that actually reminds me of working on your swing in baseball. And you watch the film, you understand where certain elements are getting to, the touch time, the separation between your hip and your hands, and, like, there's a lot that goes into things like that. So it does make sense when these guys are as professional and have as many resources as they do, they're going to take advantage of everything that they can. So if Porter is saying that there's something here, then I believe him, of course. There's probably something here in terms of how his body is kind of affecting how his balance and his strength feel on this. And it's probably why it's affected his play a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great analogy with baseball. Let's get back to real sports. So
sick.
Gordon got in foul trouble. Christian was Here's what's weird with Christian. Christian, I think, is way better on defending screens, and he's way better at recognizing the off-ball stuff, like you mentioned. And still, there's like a lot of sequences in the game where I noticed that that his on-ball stuff is not as sharp as it was last year. And I just don't know what to like. I think so much of it is just like the offensive workload is so much higher for him, and there's like learning to balance the energy. So it makes me hopeful that the playoffs they could really put something together. With Porter though, let's go back to him. And he said this was a shocker to me, not a shocker. Michael's always he's pretty candid with us. Like Michael, to his credit, is always pretty candid. He doesn't keep a lot of things close to the vest. It's not like this whole big game with him, which I appreciate. One of the things he said was, he was like, there were probably some games when other guys were out that I should have sat, but I wanted to be there for the team. Because I asked him about, like, I think this is a part of it when you have a good culture, is like, when you like each other and you respect one another, you want to be there for your guys. So if they're not able to go, you don't want them to feel like they're letting the team down. You want to step up and get a win. So you play when maybe you're hurt. And like Porter admitted that. To which I will ask, Hoops is in charge, because like they're getting through it and it's fine. And I understand, like, there's so much that I don't know. Like, I don't know the entirety of medical knowledge, but God, they got to pull back. I'm going to be on the show. I did all the second half of last year after the All-Star break, and I'm going to do it again. I'm glad the Joker got this time off. That's awesome. But MPJ is like, I'm really looking forward to this 3-day break coming up. For the love of God, do not play him on Friday versus the Jazz. Give him 5 days. You don't need Michael Porter Jr. to beat the Jazz. Jokic just came back. With Jokic in hand, you should absolutely destroy the Utah Jazz, who do not want to win. Like, it should not be a problem. And if you do, fine. You lost to the Bulls, you lost to the Wizards, you can lose to the Jazz. But it doesn't, you are gonna need Porter. No matter how much people have complained in our comments about Porter, and those complaints were understandable and legitimate as fans, it doesn't change the fact that you've paid him the money and you need the spacing. Like, there's just no way getting around it. There is not a scenario where Porter misses the entirety of the playoffs and you are able to get to the finals. There's just not one. There's very little pathways with him. So, like, you cannot have taken the approach to this regular season that this team has. Like, that to me is one of the things that's most frustrating, Ryan, is I'm just like, you guys have played all these games and you don't have the record to show for it. You're still going to win. Like, 52 wins is good and it's hard in the NBA, but there's not a tangible difference here between 52 and 49. There's just not. So, like, what are you getting out of this?
Well, you might be getting seeding management. You might be getting home court advantage in the first round, which you may not be getting if you're at 49. That's for sure. We'll see how it overall shakes out at the end of this thing. But I can understand them, especially because Malone keeps talking about chemistry. He keeps talking about not having played together. He keeps talking about trying to figure some things out together. Jokic, by the way, asked a similar question, said it doesn't mean as much to him. He says he feels like they know who each other is at this point, and they will be fine from a chemistry perspective when the playoffs come. They don't need these final 8 games for that.
They are trying to pinpoint why it is that it's not working as well as it used to.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in terms of we're talking about communication, we're going to talk about chemistry, we're going to talk about consistency, we're going to talk about effort, we're going to talk about attitude, we're going to talk about personnel, whatever it is. They're ping-ponging the excuses at this point.
Okay. I don't think it's excuses. I think it's more like so here's the thing. Excuses is like, if a player starts an interview with like, hey, I know we lost, but that would be an excuse, right? But that's not what happens. Like, when you're asked, like, what is the reason for this? And you provide the reasons, that's not excuse making, right? And I want to be very sensitive to that, because I think it's unfair when we go the other way, when it's like, when it's like, well, they're just making excuses. They're just making excuses. It's like, if you ask a player, like, hey, whose responsibility is it that you lost tonight? They're gonna be like, ours. We should have played better. Period. End dot. You know what that makes for? Bad copy. And that's not what we're asking. Like, we're not asking, like, hey, would you give me a quote about you taking responsibility? Because if we did that, they would do it. They probably honestly prefer that because it'd be like, yeah, we should have played harder. We should have played better. Sorry to the fans. Done. Right.
There's something to that, of course. I will say you wrote a great article about defense this morning on Wednesday. I wrote an article about defense. And one of the points that I made was that the Nuggets are still trying to figure out that the defense is legal in the first half of games where they are 0.1 points. And this was prior to tonight, and it might have changed because they gave up 64 in the first half to the Milwaukee Bucks without Giannis and Dame. That a 117.6 defensive rating is 29th and 117.7 is 30th. That is the New Orleans Pelicans. They are very close to being the worst first half defense in the NBA. And at this point, I just don't care what the reasons are at this point. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily care what the reasons are anymore if you are that bad and you have these expectations as well.
Let's dissect that a little bit up coming up. Let's talk about that. And I want to kind of pull that apart. What I will say is, the communication, I want to wrap this segment with the communication and the time playing with the starters. To me, there's an ephemeral nature to how basketball can change year over year. And this gets to the core of a lot of my analysis. And it's why I poke at you a lot, is because I used to draw very direct logical lines. Oh, it must be because of X. X leads to Y and Y leads to Z. And that is not how it is. It's X leads to A, but also maybe C, but also 4, and also F, and also banana. And sometimes those things can lead to Z, but only if Z exists inside of a Tupperware container on top of a shelf next to a giant slug. That's how basketball is. It's very ephemeral. And so to me, when they're talking about when Jokic is come on, we play together. That's how I feel, where I'm you guys know how to play together. You've been doing this you know how to do this. You're just not. And the inability to understand why is not a fault. It's more of just you have to reinvent yourself every single year. Let's talk about the defense and let's talk about playoff seeding coming up on Locked On Nuggets. Welcome back to Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys joining us on No Jinx. We'd never jinx anybody. We didn't even have to jinx anybody tonight.
I'm definitely going to be clipping the X leads to banana portion of the podcast.
It's how where my brain is. Okay, so it's funny because you're they're very worse, the worst first half defense in the NBA, and at this point, I don't care what the reasons are. And I have two distinct sequences in my brain that went there, which is do we really think that quarter by quarter, because Malone is he is praying at the temple of our fourth quarter defense is not bad.
Yeah.
That's where he's praying.
Yeah.
Because he's
it's all he's got.
That means that we can be good. We just got to do it. And when the playoffs come, they'll do it. Because otherwise it's what are we doing here? I don't blame him because it's otherwise it's what are we doing here? Do you think that there's anything to I get it, the game is getting close, but sometimes they're ahead and they clamp, and sometimes they're behind and they clamp down, and sometimes it's a blowout and they clamp down in the they're too far behind and in the defense. Do you think there's anything to it? Does it really feel like there's anything to the differences in the first half and second half defense?
I feel like there's more Olay defense from Jokic specifically in the first half as he tries to save fouls, as he tries to save energy. And I think you might have some of that rub off on the rest of the team, just in terms of the way that they close out on specific instances or are running into specific instances. I think that there's less urgency to get back in transition in the first half than there is in the second half. And I also think that they are, in some ways, a little bit more precise. This is anecdotal because I don't have the stats.
Yeah.
They are more precise on the offensive end in terms of what they are trying to accomplish. They are still very good on offense in the first half. That's not a question. But in terms of how they are trying to execute and what they are trying to accomplish and their floor balance and things like that, they don't get taken advantage of as much in transition and on mistakes in those moments. But that is entirely anecdotal.
I was looking this up just now. Behind 16 to 20 points, they have a 115 defensive rating. That's bad. Behind 11 to 15 points, they're at 111. Not bad.
Pretty good.
Behind 6 to 10, they have a 107 defensive rating.
Trying to catch up.
Behind 1 to 5, they have a 119 defensive rating.
Huh.
Ahead by 1 to 5 points, they have a 111. Pretty good. Ahead by 6 to 10 points, 115. Not bad. Ahead by 11 to 15, it jumps to 117.9. Ahead by 16 to 20, that's 108. They're pretty good because when they're killing you, they're absolutely killing you. Ahead by more than 20 points, it's 113. So, like, the real problem area is in 70 games, in 662 minutes, by the biggest minute allotment of all these different splits I've just mentioned, they have their worst defensive rating at 118.5. They are not good when they are within striking range, but not beating a team.
Yeah, because it almost feels hopeless. And a lot of that is because they are keeping up offensively, but they are slowly slipping away.
Yeah.
That to me is where you allow for your offense to try to carry the day. And we talked about this while we were at the game today. They're a team that allows their offense to carry the day for them over and over and over again, like in the wins and in the losses. Like that's how they try to win games mostly. And it just seems to me like the way to get out of that is to lock in defensively and turn on like runs and get long like 10-0 runs, 15-0 runs. It doesn't feel like they've had as many of those because they can't consistently get those stops and force those turnovers. They are one of the worst turnover forcing teams in the NBA, which is one of the most important things when it comes to generating runs for your squad.
I will say when they get rid of the truly easy stuff, which they're terrible at defending, like if they do not do a good job of turning easy shots for opponents into hard ones, that takes a really high level of defense, and they're very bad at it. Tonight, the Bucks, without Giannis Antetokounmpo, had a one. So, okay, they had 17 points on 10 turnovers. You should expect off of turnovers like a 2.0 points per possession mark. It should be like turnover, run out, layup. That's what you should expect. If you're really hot, like the Nuggets have had nights when it's like 10 turnovers, 39 points, like 29 points.
Jesus.
And it's like, and Malone loses his mind on those because he's like, we didn't actually turn the ball over that much, but we were so bad defending that we got killed. And that really tonight, like 17 points on 10 turnovers is like, that's a perfectly acceptable number. Yeah. And it does, their offense is, I really do think I got to like really focus on this because I've been so bothered by their defense. Their offense is elite. Like the Nuggets have an elite offense and we take it for granted. And we take it for granted because of Jokic or because we've seen it so much or whatever. You really do like you boil it down and you watch night to night how hard it is for some teams to score. And you just watch Denver get layup after dunk, after open jumper, after Jokic easy shot, like over and over and over again. The Nuggets just create really good offense that is going to result in great opportunities almost every single time. Like one of the reasons I think like you blanched at Aaron Gordon missed layup tonight and the Russ missed layups. One of the reasons I think that those stand out to you as much as they do is because the Nuggets create such easy ones. It feels like, how could you possibly miss that? Where it's like, most teams miss layups. The Nuggets rarely miss layups because they create such good ones all the time.
Yeah, there's something to that. And like, and Malone pointed to the Aaron Gordon kind of like the in and out minutes and in terms of not necessarily establishing a rhythm. And that play in particular, like it was kind of weird because I think he thought the help was going to come over and it just never did. And then he found himself wide open under the rim for a layup and was just like, oh, I guess I have to do this now. And that's just sometimes how it goes. But no, I think, yes, you are correct. And Denver's formula in this playoff run is going to be got to be as good as possible on the offensive end and try to piece things together on the defensive end. And that's just how it has to be. You wanted to talk about playoff seeding, right?
Yeah. Lively debate in the media room about where the Nuggets are going to wind up and who they're going to play. a mix of prognostications, predictions, and also the usual allotment of sports writers not wanting to go to cold weather cities and instead go to LA as they do every spring. Shout out.
Yeah, I couldn't care less. I would rather go see a place that I haven't been before, to be honest.
Notably, I will say Bennett Durando of the Post, excellent dude. He's very much like, I like this place. I like this other city. I like these places. So good for him.
Don't like Memphis.
not a fan of Memphis, Bennett Durando. So I will tell you that I track this stuff really closely. A big part of the reason that I'm confident Denver's going to wind up in 2 or 3, the Lakers have more games. And there is this idea I've been battling with fans, as I will want to do, about a couple of things. And the 2 things that I would tell you the most about the next 3 weeks of basketball are, 1, you want to have fewer games because it's less opportunities to slip, where it's like they have more games so they can win more games. No, these are you are chasing a loss column. That's what you are trying to do. You're trying to either protect or chase loss column. And so the Nuggets having fewer games to play means they have fewer games that they can lose, which means these other teams are going to have to keep, like the Lakers have to keep pace with more games with as many losses. That's hard. So the Lakers, I think, are very likely to wind up in the 4-5. Memphis is going to take a loss tomorrow. They're facing OKC. They're going to lose that game, and they're going to fall to 29 losses. It's not for sure. I feel like it's very likely that 4-5 is going to be Lakers, Memphis. 2-3 is going to be Houston, Denver in some order, depending on the last game of the season, which means that you're either going to get Warriors, Clippers, or Wolves. Those are going to be, like, to me, there's a high probability. Now, things can change. The Nuggets could lose the next 5 games. What I will say, and for any members of the Nuggets organization that might be listening, because I know Michael Malone has been stressed out of his mind about making the playoffs, magic number is 6 now with 8 games remaining. Magic number is wins plus opponent losses. So if the Clippers and Wolves lose 2 more games, Denver's going to win 4 out of the final 8 games, go 500, and they lock a playoff spot. They're not missing the playoffs.
And that would mean like 8-2 for those teams because they have 10 games left to go, which is why you're talking about slippage. It's why you're talking about opportunity.
That's right. Clippers have fewer games remaining. I think the Wolves.
So I'm looking at it now. Clippers and Warriors are tied at 41-31 at the 6-7. Minnesota's at 41-32. So they've got 1 extra loss there. They've got 9 left to go. The Clippers and Warriors have 10.
Yeah. So Wolves are in the best position there because they've got fewer games remaining, right? And that's the way to kind of think about it. And even if it's just like 1 game, that's 1 more game that they don't have to worry about losing in this kind of position. So I feel pretty confident Denver's going to wind up with a 2 or a 3, which is good because you want to be a top 3 seed. Somebody asked about, was it you that asked about seeding tonight? From Mike?
I asked Michael Porter about seeding, and effectively what he said, and I asked him, like, what's the team's internal feeling on like number of like wins, playoff seeding? What are you trying to go for? And he effectively said, we are going to try to win as many games as we can. Like, we are not trying to dodge anybody, was the sentiment there. And that's the right mentality to have as a team, because if you're actively trying to avoid a 6 seed or a 7 seed or an 8 seed, then you are probably not going to win the championship because you're not mentally strong enough. That's something that I heard Tim Legler say on the All NBA show, by the way, for All City.
I disagree.
Of course you do, because you're analytically driven and you have seen the history of these things. But like, Porter probably knows this better than we do, and being in that locker room, he knows this better than we do. Like, they have this experience, and I don't think that they should be seeking out the Wolves. That's for sure. But like hunting a spot to get away from them.
So,
I don't know.
Yeah, you got to do it. So it's got to be management driven, and subtle.
Yes,
it's got to be like, hey, we could we let's sit Mike and Aaron and Yoke, and
they've earned it.
Yeah, got the playoff spot locked up. We don't need home court. That's how you do it. I don't think you have to duck them. I really don't. I just think if it's like, oh, we don't have as much incentive to win this game, take it off. Yeah, so I think 3-6 Warriors, Clippers, Wolves are the most likely outcomes. And if you told me to rank them, I would go Wolves and then Clippers and then Warriors is the odds that I would go there. I think Wolves are most likely to get 6. Clippers are most likely to get 7. Warriors most likely to get 8. That's not reflected in the standings right now. But this is the other thing I would tell you, which is just like how teams are playing right now is not reflective of what it will be like in 3 weeks.
Notable remaining strength of schedule via Tankathon. Just type this in real quick. Lakers are 4th. Memphis is 5th. And this is 5th toughest. Nuggets are 11th. Golden State is 12th. Sacramento's 14th. They don't matter. Clippers 16th. And the Wolves, you have to scroll down to 26th. They have a relatively easy schedule the rest of the way. If you're just counting teams like they play the Jazz, the Sixers, and the Nets twice. Those teams are trying to lose for tanking position for Cooper Flag.
Jazz, Sixers, next one. They will go. So that's 4 games. They will go no better than 3-1 in that stretch.
That would be funny.
I mean, look, I'll just tell you,
it happens.
I used to pour over straight the schedule. I used to look at it so in depth and be like, this and that, and this team will do better because look at their strength of schedule. And then like I just would be like, get to the end of it, and you have to follow up on the analysis and be like, so what happened? And the results were like, nope, it's all random. They beat a really good team. They lost to a really crappy team the week later. They won a double overtime game versus one of the best teams in the league that we chalked up as a loss on the road. They lost to a bad team at home. Like none of the strength of schedule stuff I think matters.
You know who the Nuggets still have to play?
Who?
The Jazz and the Spurs.
They only play the Spurs once?
Yep.
All right, they'll lose the Spurs game. They're going to beat the Jazz. They're going to lose the Spurs game.
Okay.
Spurs offense has been really good since March. Thanks for joining us.
Sandro Mamukelishvili time.
Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys being with us. Go check out Pickaxe and Roll. Swipa will be with you tomorrow along with Brian. And then we'll be back with you on Friday. I'm going to try and get a show in with Swipa because we haven't done Swipe and Gripe in a while. So it'll be me and him. We'll talk playoff seeding and more. And then we'll have another post-game show for you on Friday after the Jazz game. Appreciate you guys joining us. We'll see you guys again next time here on Locked On Nuggets.